Welcome to today's episode, where we dive into a critical situation unfolding on the international stage, a story that is as complex as it is consequential. As tensions between the United States and Iran reach a boiling point, the world watches closely. The stakes are high, not just for those directly involved, but for global stability as a whole. This moment could define foreign relations for years to come, with potential ramifications that could ripple through economies and international alliances worldwide. The current crisis revolves around a series of explosive events in Iran, which Iran has attributed to gas leaks. However, suspicions of sabotage, perhaps targeting critical infrastructure, have cast a shadow over these explanations. Amid these developments, US President Donald Trump has issued a stark ultimatum to Iran, signaling readiness for military action, while simultaneously hinting at ongoing negotiations to resolve the standoff peacefully. This dual approach of diplomacy and deterrence underscores the precariousness of the situation, one where any misstep could lead to broader conflict. The roots of this crisis are deeply embedded in recent events within Iran. The government's harsh crackdown on widespread protests has led to a death toll approaching 3,000 civilians, a figure that underscores the internal unrest Tehran is grappling with. This unrest coincides with Iran's contentious nuclear program, reigniting international concerns over its potential to develop nuclear weapons. The strategic deployment of U.S. naval forces to the region further heightens tensions, evoking memories of past confrontations, and raising the specter of a conflict that many fear could spread throughout the Middle East. Iran's supreme leader has responded with a clear warning. Any American military strike could ignite a full-scale regional war, a statement that adds another layer of urgency to the diplomatic efforts currently underway. Despite the tense atmosphere, President Trump has expressed hope for a peaceful resolution, citing Iran's willingness to engage in serious discussions. Yet the ambiguity surrounding the U.S.'s strategic intentions leaves room for speculation about what might happen if these talks fail. One cannot overlook Israel's position as a key U.S. ally in this unfolding drama. Israel's military preparedness alongside American forces adds another dimension to the strategic calculus. In the broader regional context, the reopening of the Rafah crossing in Gaza and the delicate ceasefire with Hamas further complicate matters, intertwining the threat dynamics and raising questions about the future of peace efforts in the region. Economically, the implications of this standoff could be profound. Iran's role as a major oil exporter means that any disruption in its output, or a closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point for global oil transit, could send shockwaves through global markets. Such disruptions would likely exacerbate inflationary pressures worldwide, affecting economies that are still recovering from recent downturns. The specter of increased oil prices is a reminder of how interconnected our world has become, with regional conflicts capable of impacting the economic fabric far beyond their geographic origins. Politically, President Trump's posture on Iran echoes previous maximum pressure campaigns, yet the current internal unrest within Iran presents a unique opportunity, or risk, depending on the perspective, for significant change. The potential for regime change, or at least a significant shift in Iranian policy, appears more plausible now than in the past, but such outcomes are not without the possibility of backlash, both domestically and internationally. Should negotiations break down, and if military action ensues, the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East could be dramatically altered. A US-led strike might consolidate an alliance between Israel and Sunni Arab states against a Shia bloc, possibly drawing Russia and China into deeper engagement as backers of Iran. This could redefine alliances and deepen divisions in a region already fraught with historical and contemporary tensions. Domestically, the United States faces its own challenges. The prospect of military engagement with Iran could polarize public opinion, intersecting with other contentious issues such as security commitments in Ukraine and immigration policies. However, achieving a diplomatic resolution that effectively curtails Iran's nuclear ambitions could be a monumental achievement for the Trump administration, potentially stabilizing the region and allowing the U.S. to focus on other pressing issues, including energy security and counterterrorism. On the international stage, the broader implications of this crisis touch on non-proliferation efforts worldwide. Iran's defiance of global norms could embolden other nations to pursue similar paths, challenging the existing international order. The outcome of the current negotiations could thus serve as a pivotal test of deterrence versus diplomacy in addressing nuclear proliferation, setting a precedent for how similar situations might be handled in the future. As we wrap up this episode, it's clear that the unfolding events between the US and Iran represent a critical juncture with far-reaching implications. Whether through diplomatic negotiation or the unfortunate necessity of military action, the decisions made in the coming days and weeks will not only shape the future of US-Iran relations, but could also redefine the contours of international relations in a world increasingly wary of conflict. Thank you for joining me today as we navigated this complex and consequential topic. Stay informed, stay engaged, and above all, let's hope for peace.